Hi everybody. So today we're going to talk about the rhetorical analysis. We get to introduce the rhetorical analysis. Hopefully you guys read reading and note-taking, and then all 4 of the PDF articles on Canvas, because we're going to be discussing those too. I'm so excited about the rhetorical analysis. This is where our course is going to start to pick up. So there's going to be a little bit more reading. There's going to be more to do, more involved lessons in the classroom, talking about how to identify those rhetorical strategies and how to write your paper. So we're really going to start focusing in on that kind of stuff. How to do citations, how to argue your point, those ethos, logos, pathos, and kairos. Okay. So let's get started. The rhetorical analysis. So for our rhetorical analysis, our essay 2, we're really going to dig into what rhetoric is all about. If we look at the choices that other writers make about how to present their arguments, then we can begin to use the same strategies to improve our own persuasiveness. So just a reminder on our expanded definition of argument, it's much more than I'm right, you're wrong. That's one form of argument. But it might be easier to think of argument as what I believe and why I believe it. So giving me those details in your writing about what you believe and why you believe it is going to be important in this paper. Then you don't have to have an adversary or opposing viewpoint. This really opens up what an argument can be, right? That said, this is likely going to be a challenging essay to write. We're very used to reading an article and understanding the content, the point it's making, and then using it to back up points we want to make. But the rhetorical analysis asks you to think about how the article makes those points. How does it use ethos, logos, and pathos? And how do those points get made with the author's choice of ethos, logos, and pathos? So what choices did the author make? Why are those good choices? For example, did the author tell a story at the beginning of the article to get readers' interest? That's a strategy. Okay, so when you guys sit down to write this paper, these are very good questions that you could be asking and answer in your paper to get you going. Okay. So you can certainly use Aristotle's 3 appeals, logos, ethos, and pathos, but can also discuss other strategies. So the purpose: to become the type of critical reader that college classes call for, it's useful to analyze how other writers present their ideas to best meet the needs of their audiences. Critical reading and analysis asks that you break down what you're reading to understand not only what the author is saying, but how the author is presenting those ideas. Writers make choices of how to present their information, and by examining the writing strategies of others, you can become a better writer. And all of you want to do that. That was your goal for this semester. So seeing what works for other authors can give you ideas to incorporate into your own writing. So therefore, when we go to do our research paper, essay 3, you're going to be able to incorporate these ideas that you're learning from this paper into the next, right? We're going to build on what we're doing. So choosing an article for this essay. There are 4 articles that you will choose from. Hopefully you read those this weekend. They are located in the essay 2 rhetorical analysis module. Grit is Not Enough, Teaching Children About Racism, Jesus at a College Party, and Independence Interrupted. They're very short. They're not real long. So hopefully you guys read those all and are good to go. This just talks about glance at all four, then choose the one that interests you most, which of course, yes, pick the one that you want most. Note, you will be expected to use the PDF versions provided in the module, and you will need to have a printed out copy for in-class work. The library gives you free copies, so please have at least your article that you want printed out and brought to class so that you can use it when we work on our papers, okay? Reading critically. As noted above, rhetorical analysis asks that you consider how the author is presenting that information, the choices the author makes, such as persuasive appeals, which is the ethos, logos, and pathos, the language that they're using, the evidence that they use, the organization, etc., the layout of the paper, do they use visuals, those kinds of things. The better you understand the article, the better your analysis will be. So read it several times. They're short. You can really get into reading this a few times to really understand what the article is about and how the author is using those strategies, okay? So put time into reading it critically to understand it thoroughly. So the goal here is analysis of writer's strategies. Your goal with this essay is to create a rhetorical analysis which will argue that the rhetorical strategies the author used to write their essay were effective in supporting the article's argument, right? So whatever the article is that the author wrote, whatever they are arguing, that's what you're going to be arguing, whether it was effective and whether the appeals, the rhetorical strategies that the author used was effective in supporting the argument they're making, okay? So, creating a thesis, a claim. Your thesis should encapsulate the argument you're making about the article, the key point you've determined as a result of your analysis. So realize that your thesis will be an argument, just not a right-wrong type of argument. Your thesis will include the main point your author is making and will identify the rhetorical strategies that best support the main point. So a sample thesis for an article about Columbusing, taking credit for something other cultures have developed, might be, so this is just an example, guys. Salinas suggests that while cultural appropriation is commonplace in America, it's important to consider the people as well as what is taken from the culture. She supports her argument by citing well-known references and using interesting examples. Okay, so this is going to start making more sense when we really dive into the ethos, logos, and pathos, which we're going to talk about on Wednesday. Okay, and then we'll revisit this again. So the first sentence of the thesis identifies the article's author. Okay, it talks about Selena suggests that while cultural appropriation is commonplace in America, so that's the article's author. I'm so sorry, guys. And the main point the author makes. The second sentence identifies the type of strategies the student is going to be examining. Okay, so they're going to be looking at by citing well-known references and using interesting examples. Okay, but your thesis should reflect those choices. Again, this assignment asks you only to consider what the author does well, not what the author might have done differently. That's a different assignment. Okay, we want to concentrate on what they did, how they made their argument. Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay, creating body paragraphs. So your body paragraphs will specify the particular rhetorical strategy that you think was effectively used, provide a specific example from the text with appropriate documentation of the page number, and analyze why that particular example worked well to support the author's main point. This is where your readers see your reasoning. So following is an example of a well-developed paragraph, likely in the middle of somebody's essay, discussing an article written by Susan Jones. So, although facts and statistics dominate the article, they would lose their appeal without being paired with credible sources. Nearly each statistic or quote derives from a trusted source or an individual who has an extensive background or is associated with a trusted source. So here the author of this paragraph is telling you that the individual who has an extensive background or is associated with a trusted source. So that's why it's credible, okay? Makes sense? And then it says, for example, every statistic mentioned in the article is accompanied by phrases like a Stanford University study found. Well, we know that Stanford University studies are credible. Or according to a poll by Pew Research. Most people know who Pew is and what they research, so we can know that that is credible. Because Stanford is a prestigious university and the Pew Research Group is well known for their accurate research, these sources may be accepted as credible by readers. Whenever bold claims or opinions are made, Jones cites individual sources along with their accountability. So for instance, the article begins with a story from John Smith, a concerned parole officer who has developed a theory about a connection between youth and street gangs. To enhance Smith's credibility, Jones chooses to include that he has an extensive background in community crime prevention programs. And again, you see that these are cited, right? You see the page. Though this is a simple statement, it highlights the credibility of Smith's experiences, making his claims more believable. Jones understands that facts are only as credible as their sources, so she chooses to enhance her argument with a variety of trustworthy voices. This makes it nearly impossible for readers to ignore Jones's main claim that parole officers are key to the success in preventing youth crime. In this paragraph, the information in yellow is what the student took from the article. The rest of it is the student providing an analysis of why those strategies are effective. Cooper, Hannah, sorry guys. Remember that analysis answers why or how or expands with because. Showing your thinking is the key. Okay, I want to know what your thinking is, how you're analyzing what you just read, that article, and then back it up with statements like this. Use text evidence from your article to back up what you're saying. Note, I don't want you to highlight quotes in your essay. The highlighting here is just to show you how much of the paragraph is from the article and how much needs to come from you. So the majority is you. Okay? So then content and organization. So start with a title. Guys, this is, you all missed 5 points on your literacy narratives because you didn't give me an attention getting title like the rubric called for. So make sure you start with a title that isn't the same name as the article or the name of the paper. It should get your reader's attention. Base it off of anything that you are going to be writing about, and it'll be fine. It doesn't have to be this elaborate, creative, swabby thing. I don't care. Like, it can be very simple. Just make it something other than rhetorical analysis or the name of the title of the article you're using, okay? Have an introduction that gets your reader's attention and shows the significance of the topic. It will also identify the article, title, and author. Make sure all of those are in your introduction. Your thesis will also likely be included in the introduction, but not as the first sentence, okay? We'll kind of go through this a little bit more and talk about this as we build on making our rhetorical analysis, okay? We want a summary paragraph of the main points of the article, about 75 words. We will do this as a homework assignment, so don't worry about this. We will get it done, okay? Assume that your readers have not read the actual article, so they will need to know the important points. Remember to think big picture and just look at the main points, not details or examples. It's just an analysis. A detailed analysis of the article will constitute the body of your essay. These paragraphs will provide the evidence that your readers will expect you to provide to back up your claim. See notes above for what to include in each body paragraph. Use exact quotes from the article, as they are more effective than trying to paraphrase. Identify the page number where each quote was found after the quote. Make sure you cite. Okay, see example paragraph. I pointed those out. And then a conclusion, which does more than simply list the points you've made or repeats the thesis claim. It's the moment you can cement your claim with your readers, reinforce the significance of the topic with your readers in mind to leave a lasting impression. Your audience will be educated individuals who are not familiar with the article but are interested in learning about how writers create arguments. Try to not think of yourself as just writing for a class. Think about your peers. They're all doing the same thing. They might not be working on the same article you are, so think of them as your audience. Style expectations for this essay, your ethos. So your essay will draw on a variety of strategies: summary, analysis, providing evidence, citing passages from the text, etc. But we also want to think about your ethos, your thoughts, your tone and language choices, as well as how well you present your argument will help your credibility with your readers. Okay? Your essay will be created out of your own reading of the article. No secondary sources, no research. We don't want anything else, okay? Nothing else is allowed, just your one article. Documentation. Since you are only using the one article, you don't need to put anything other than the page number and an in-text citation. The first time you reference the article, which will be in the introduction, remember to identify the author's first and last name and the article title in quotation marks. You don't need to include a works cited page for this essay, so don't worry about it, okay? This essay length should be between 3.5 to 4 full pages. To meet the length requirement, it has to be 3.5 to 4 full pages. This will give you enough room to fully develop your argument. Remember that I mentioned an essay doesn't have to be 5 paragraphs. You might have 2 paragraphs on ethos, another paragraph on statistics, another paragraph on visuals used, and 2 paragraphs on the use of pathos. Okay? Formatting. At least 3.5 to 4 full pages of text, double spaced. More is fine, but no more than 5 pages. For the heading format of page 1, follow the guidelines for MLA. So last name, page number. After page 1, include page numbers in a header, or just your last name and a page number, however you prefer. Use a standard 12-point font, preferably Times New Roman. That is MLA standard. Use a tab indent for each new paragraph. Do not have extra space between paragraphs. You guys should be well versed in all of these. We went through them on the literacy narrative. There's a video on Canvas, and you should be prepared to do this perfectly on this essay. You should have between 22 to 24 double spaced lines per page. It's just basic. Use a grading rubric as a guide to ensure you have followed all of the guidelines of this essay. We will look at that later. Upload your essay into the rhetorical analysis essay module. Okay. Okay. So that is our assignment that we're going to be working on for about 4 weeks. Like I said, it's going to go a little bit quicker. There's a lot more to this than the literacy narrative. So for our readings, reading and note taking. So the first thing that it talks about is reading skills. Like I said, you're going to want to really pay attention to these articles and reread them several times. The first thing it says, the goal, get a general idea. So the strategies to skim, look at the titles, headings, images, and charts to get a sense of the reading's direction, right? So here is Independence Interrupted. I think it's the very first one. So you see the title, Independence Interrupted. So you kind of start thinking, okay, independence and it's interrupted. Gives you a clue, right? Intrusive eyes. Okay, so that has to do with being independent. Now you have somebody looking over your shoulder, right? So you get that. I'm really just not doing much. Okay, so get you thinking about that. Oh, there's a picture. Young girl, parents. Okay. Oh, and she's got a university sweatshirt on. Okay. And then it talks about the author. She's a PhD. Okay. There's also another picture, smaller child with a mom, assuming mom. Okay. So you kind of get a glance at that. So gloss over the text, prioritizing the introduction and conclusion rather than trying to read every word. All right, so let's read just the very beginning of it, right? Let's get into this. College, essentially, is all about individuating from one's family of origin and forging a new path. How is that going now that most students are trying to do college far away from campus? Question. For many, not very well. Okay, so this has to do with college students. Um, their independence has been interrupted, so maybe we're thinking that they've had to go back home for some reason. Maybe this is COVID related, maybe. So there you start getting some ideas, okay? So then specific info. You're going to scan. And this tells you more, such as wanting evidence for your research or argument paper, which you guys are doing. So before reading, identify what information you want from the piece, such as certain data, quotes, or explanations. This is great because we want to start thinking about how the author is using those rhetorical strategies of ethos, logos, and pathos. So by the time you go to read your article again, based off of just a quick scan of them that you've already read from this weekend, you should have picked out one that you favor, and then you can kind of scan it and kind of start looking for those rhetorical strategies that we're going to talk about on Wednesday. So then hopefully you'll be able to pick those out, write those down. You definitely want to highlight them. Looking for in-text citations to find quotes that you might use in your paper, gloss over the text, focusing on finding those keywords and information, right? You could definitely do that. And then gathering knowledge, such as sources for an annotated bibliography, which we aren't doing, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But you're still going to read all about managing your time and effort, work with your instructor to develop a list of keywords. So those are going to be your ethos, logos, and pathos. And once you learn what those all mean, if you don't already, then you'll be able to read through your article and pick out what's going to be best to show those rhetorical strategies, and then find text evidence to back you up on that, right? Okay, so expertise and precision, such as reading an article for a rhetorical analysis. So this calls for interaction. So read through your article in chunks. By pausing your reading, you take time to interact with the piece. This could mean taking notes, writing questions, highlighting and annotating, or writing down a summary. So interaction can also be achieved after reading through and rereading or discussion with peers or the instructor. So we will definitely be using the articles to kind of pick out examples of ethos, logos, and pathos throughout our discussions in class. So to kind of help you guys recognize each of those and talk about them, okay? So be prepared to do that. That's why I wanted you guys to read those this weekend. Reading for expertise and precision talks about what is analysis. It lets you know what you should be looking for, and it gives an example of a doctor's goal is to diagnose you and find out what is wrong. They could just listen to your symptoms and look at you, but analyzing ensures accurate results. So to conduct an analysis, the doctor will examine your symptoms in detail, such as by ordering a blood test or x-ray and by asking you questions. Same thing about the details in an analysis in your articles, right? You will need to break down the text into smaller, significant parts. Those are going to be the parts that you're going to want to use for text evidence, right? And then it talks about what is critical thinking, and then taking notes. How does that fit in? You can record your notes verbally. You can draw your notes, write them down. You can use highlighters. There's lots of ways you can do that, okay? And that was the reading for this week. And I think that's it for today. So we introduced the rhetorical analysis, we talked about the readings. Make sure that you have read all 4 of our articles. They are all right here. And hopefully you'll have in mind which one you like best, which one you're thinking about. Here are all of your readings, of course. For Wednesday, make sure that you read your rhetorical analysis, rhetorical strategies, Kairos, and understanding rhetorical rhetoric, page 37 through 67. On Wednesday, we will have my mentor, Kat Green, in the room. Don't let it phase you. She's there watching me, observing me. If anybody should be nervous, it would be me, which I'm not. She's wonderful. She's great. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about ethos, logos, pathos, and kairos. And we're going to do an in-class discussion in groups. So it should be fun. You guys should have a lot of fun doing this and really start thinking about the ethos, logos, and pathos, and really start getting into all those rhetorical analysis and strategies and all the good stuff that we need to know for this paper. Okay, and that's basically what we're going to be doing for this chunk. For our rhetorical analysis is just strategic reading, drawing conclusions, discussions, citations, argument, all those good things, okay? As you can see, the rough draft of rhetorical analysis is due on Canvas on February 18th. We will be doing a peer evaluation on February 21st. On February 23rd. We're going to talk about it on the 21st and get you guys ready. I'm going to cover everything so you guys feel very comfortable with peer evaluation, because I know that can be very intimidating because you don't know what to say and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So we're going to have a video and we're going to talk about it in length so that you guys feel very comfortable doing it. And I hope to get you all there and all contributing so everybody gets a peer evaluation, get some feedback, because people need that. That's how you become a better writer, knowing how to do peer evaluation, because at some point in your life you will be doing that, either through work, through friends. I mean, you give your feedback to everybody. So that's an important thing to learn. Okay. Final draft rhetorical analysis won't be due until February 25th. Okay. So just give you an overlook of what's coming. I think that's it, guys. Make sure that you read for Wednesday and be prepared. And please, everybody, talk and make me look fabulous. All right, guys. Thank you so much. As always, if you need anything or have any questions, feel free to email me. Be safe.